Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back for another week of the Shuckle Premier League Draft League. We are so excited to be a part of this season featuring 10 singles Pokemon creators and 10 doubles Pokemon creators. And I come in from the doubles side, and it's kind of nice to have that home field advantage when we are playing a doubles VGC inspired Draft League season. We have a couple weeks under our belt now, but now this is where we really need to start looking at maybe turning around our luck a little bit and trying to get a true win under our belt for the season. We've had a game win here or there, but it's about being able to finish strong. And so we'll see if this week can be the week to do that. But what's a Draft League? If this is your first time checking out some Draft League content and you might know me from VGC, then let's talk about that for just a little bit. Draft League, we're looking at having a team of about 9 to 10 Pokemon, and we're able to change up which Pokemon we bring based on the matchup that we have for the given week and how our team matches into our opponents. You also have a lot of other things to consider, such as what items, movesets, abilities, Terras, all of this other stuff could potentially give you an edge versus your opponent's team. And since team building has not always been my specialty, I have two incredible helpers for me this season, Ethan Matos and Stefan Mott, who are both not only great VGC players, but also great Draft League players. So they're gonna be the ones that will help me build out a lot of these teams and make sure that we've got the right strategy heading into each week's matchup. So for this week, we have the Shoutcasting Sylveons versus Keely's Vancouver Vaporeons. Yes. Which evolution is going to come out on top? Well, hopefully it's going to be the Sylveons, but something fishy is going on here. Keely is actually the one that has the Sylveon, and I didn't draft it. Yeah, so I think either way, Sylveon stays winning. But in all seriousness, Keely's Vancouver Vaporeons is a star-studded roster filled with amazing VGC threats. Keely comes in as one of the VGC creators, and while I feel like this may be a bit more of a straightforward VGC-oriented matchup, I think that there's still a couple of things that Keely can rely upon that will make this week still quite challenging. I mean, just taking a look at her Pokemon alone, it's gonna be tough to figure out how I'm supposed to deal with some of these bigger threats that she actually has on her team. She has Tornadus Incarnate, Landorus Incarnate, Baxcalibur, Hisuian Arcanine, Zarina, Sylveon, Quaquaval, Typhlosion, Hisuian Sneasel, and Skiploom. So literally everywhere you look on this roster, there is a huge VGC threat. All of these Pokemon have been good in VGC at one point or another. Even looking at Hisuian Sneasel, which is just Baby Sneasler, and Skiploom, which is just Baby Jumpluff, both of those Pokemon have seen play in Scarlet and Violet VGC. It's sort of tough to lock down what Keely might rely upon this week to get her the win, when everywhere you look, there is just Genie, great starter Pokemon, really strong, pseudo-legendary Pokemon. There's a Sylveon on the team. I don't want to attack this Sylveon, so I really hope she doesn't bring it. While on paper, we take a look at these Pokemon, and there's just so many different options that Keely can rely upon. I look at these Pokemon individually, and as a VGC player, I can see fairly clear-cut ways that these Pokemon end up getting used. Starting with the Tornadus Incarnate, this is one of the best supportive Pokemon that VGC has ever seen. Not only does it get the Prankster ability, so any support move that it utilizes will go first, it also dishes out a lot of special attack damage in its own right. Things like Bleak Wind Storm or even Hurricane make Tornadus Incarnate such a big threat, especially when that flying type offense can be very good into some of the Pokemon that I have on my team. Slitherwing, Ogerpon Cornerstone, Volcarona all certainly don't want to be on the receiving end of something like a Bleak Wind Storm or a Hurricane. Landorus Incarnate is also another one of the genies that hits really hard. I think overall, having ground type as well as flying type offensive coverage is so key for a lot of great VGC team building. And so the fact that you have it on two of the most powerful Pokemon in the entire format really makes this particular duo such a big threat. Landorus Incarnate is typically run with holding a Life Orb. You also have the ability Sheer Force, so while you do actually take away the secondary effect of a lot of the moves that you use, those moves actually do become more powerful. So that's why oftentimes we see Landorus Incarnate with a Terra Poison. You can go for Terra Poison Sludge Bombs. Landorus can also do spread damage with its Sandsear Storm move. And you can also go for just a slew of other very powerful ground type attacks, such as Earth Power, that get boosted even further by holding onto that Life Orb item. What also makes this duo really difficult is the fact that Tornadus has access to Rain Dance, and when Rain is active, both Bleakwind Storm and Sandseer Storm bypass the accuracy check, so they will always be able to hit my Pokemon. Now we turn our sights to Baxcalibur, which is the pseudo-legendary Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet. And I love this Pokemon. It actually ends up being one of my favorite Pokemon designs from Scarlet and Violet as a whole. When it's come down to actually playing in VGC formats, Baxcalibur has struggled to be able to find its place outside of National Dex formats. So it was very good in Regulation A when Scarlet and Violet was so new, and it was really good when we removed all of the legendary Pokemon again and opened back up to the National Dex, plus the limited home decks that we had, and Baxcalibur was a beast. This Pokemon is so good as well because not only do you have the Ice type and the Dragon type coverage, it gets some very powerful moves. On the Ice type side, Baxcalibur can go for things like Icicle Spear if you want to put a loaded dice on that Pokemon. You could also go for Scale Shot, which is just going to increase the number of hits that you can get realistically out of both of those moves. But Baxcalibur also has access to things like Ice Shard for priority coverage. You've got Glaive Rush, its signature move, that's going to be dealing a heaping ton of damage. It makes it a little bit more vulnerable on the next turn, but Baxcalibur also has its ability, Thermal Exchange, so it's going to be able to get an attack boost if it does get hit by a fire type attack. And that's why Terra can be so helpful, so that maybe you can go to a water type Terra that's going to make sure that those fire type moves are not going to be even close to effective. Speaking of fire types, there's also a Hisuian Arcanine on Keely's squad, and Hisuian Arcanine is scary because I think there's two ways you can realistically run this Pokemon. One, you can go all in on the offense. You can click something like a Choice Band and you can go for Terra Normal Extreme Speeds. You also just have really great same type attack bonus moves like Flare Blitz, Rock Slide, Rock Smash, or Head Smash, sorry. You know, the rock type move where the Arcanine smashes its head into things, which does sound like Rock Smash when you think about it, but it's... you guys know what I mean. And what's really nice about Arcanine is that it actually does have two very viable abilities. Either you can go for Intimidate, so you're going to be dropping the attack stat of my Pokemon, or you can go for Rockhead, which is a unique ability for Hisuian Arcanine, where you do not take recoil damage from these heftier moves, where that can be the downside of having such a powerful offensive option. So no more taking recoil from Head Smash or Flare Blitz. You just get to have that good old-fashioned heavy base power. I think it makes more sense for Keely to run the Intimidate version of Hisuian Arcanine just because of how many physical threats we do have, looking at the Ogerpon Cornerstone as one of the options for that Intimidate. And then, of course, we have the Hisuian Goodra if we run that physically, Zarude, Pawmot, and Slitherwing. It's nice to just know that Intimidate has all-around generically good coverage depending on how we actually do build out our team for this week. But as we move further down the list of Keely's roster, we've got Zarina, which also has had some time in VGC. It's very good with the Queenly Majesty ability to block priority attacks. That's not something that we have in spades on our team, so I'm not entirely sure how likely it would be for the Zarina to actually come to these matches. We also have really great type matchups into the Zarina, so I don't think that this is a Pokemon that we'll see too much play this week, if it does come at all. And then there's Sylveon. You know, I thought about drafting Sylveon. It was actually a very key piece for me in my very first season of a draft league that I participated in. And even though we're named the Shoutcasting Sylveons, I didn't really feel like it fit super well onto the team that we had built. My roster is already on the slower side, and we do have a lot of very good special attacking Pokemon. And Sylveon was one of the more expensive options that we could have gone for in terms of fairy type damage as well as just special attack. And I didn't quite have the 14 points I needed in order to snap that up when I was done figuring out the rest of my roster. So Keely has a Sylveon, and If she knows anything about me, she'll bring it because I probably won't attack into it because it will hurt and crush my soul if I have to do that. But I do think there's a strong case for Keely to make to actually bring the Sylveon this week, not just because it's my Achilles heel, but because I think that Sylveon, if under the right conditions, does have a very good matchup into my team. There are a couple of things that she does need to be wary of. I have poison type damage options on the team, and I would also be able to hit it super effectively with something like a flash cannon from the Hisuian Gudra. And we do have overall great ways to be able to hit the Sylveon, despite the fact that it has good natural bulk. And with something like a Calm Mind, it actually could be quite difficult to take down. But it depends on how confident she is feeling on bringing the Sylveon. I do think it makes an appearance on the roster though. That way it's at least a strategy that she could bring depending on the 6 that we decide to lock into this week. The rest of the team, we have Quaquaval, Typhlosion, Hisuian Sneasel, and Skiploom. I think Hisuian Sneasel and Skiploom, while really cute Pokemon choices, also don't really have a whole lot of room this week. Either of them would probably want to run something like the Eviolite because they do have an extra evolution that they can go towards. The Eviolite gives them some really good bulk that they can play around, but I think they're also so frail that doesn't really make a lot of sense for them to come into a week where I have really good options to take them out. Now with the Quaquaval and the Typhlosion, I think the Typhlosion also doesn't come this week. We've got a Cornerstone Ogerpon and we can just Ivy Cudgel it and then it doesn't exist anymore. We also have some really great water offense in Suicune and the Lapras, so Typhlosion does seem like a no for me. But Quaquaval is really interesting. I think this is also a Pokemon that likely doesn't come to the match, but it's kind of neat to think about. Quaquaval, maybe on this entire roster, is the one that has seen the least amount of competitive play. It does have the move Aqua Step, so every time you use it, it's kind of like Flame Charge. You get an increase to your speed, but it's also not a Pokemon that I think had a lot of power in the format where you have other fighting types that can take its place. Urshifu, for example, is probably the fighting type of choice. And even when it wasn't Urshifu and Urshifu was banned in the VGC metas for Scarlet and Violet, we saw more often than not people would lean into Pokemon like Nianshao to be able to get that fighting type coverage, or even Riolu if you really wanted to go that route. More coaching shenanigans, but there were better fighting type offensive options than Quaquaval. And with water types attack on this Pokemon, we have water absorbed Lapras, and it doesn't really feel ultra safe to be able to bring so much offensive power in a water type Pokemon that we can just neutralize in that way. So for Keely, I think she really looks at Tornadus, Landorus, Baxcalibur, Hisuian Arcanine, Sylveon, and then I don't know what comes in that 6th slot, but those 5 feel locked for sure. And so with that, let's get into the team that we decided to bring for this week of the SPL. As a reminder on the Shoutcasting Sylveons, we have Ogerpon Cornerstone, Volcarona, Suicune, Klefki, Hisuian Gudra, Zarude, Pawmot, Lapras, Mismagius, and Slitherwing. And taking a look at Keely's team, I think this is Suicune's week. With a Calm Mind boost, Suicune is going to be able to get out some really good damage while still being kept safe around screens from Klefki because, of course, Klefki is our keys to success. But I think the rest of the team is actually kind of interesting for this week. We've gone really heavy into a lot of the strategies that you might see in standard VGC play, and I think this is the week I feel like we've gone out of the box the most when it's come down to the team building. On top of Calm Mind Suicune and Klefki for screens, we've got Mismagius, Cornerstone Ogerpon, Hisuian Gudra, and Zarude. Hisuian Gudra this week is coming as more of a supportive option. We have Acid Spray, so that will be a great way to deal with something like the Sylveon if it comes, and Acid Spray also has that secondary effect of dropping the special defense of the target Pokemon. So it's a nice way to help boost up the damage that the Suicune can do even further, and if Gudra finds itself in a position where it needs to also be a form of offense, Acid Spray can certainly help to make sure that all of the other coverage options that Hisuian Gudra has this week can hit even harder. We've got Flash Cannon, Thunderbolt, and Ice Beam just as generically good coverage. Zarude is here once again as another supportive option. We've got Jungle Healing as well as Throat Chop as a way to deal with something like a Hyper Voice from Sylveon. And we really went anti-Sylveon this week. But we also have Stomping Tantrum and Protect. clear amulet on Zarude, so we at least aren't going to have anything too funky happening if we do get Intimidate dropped. But otherwise, I think Zarude is just kind of a neat piece to have if it gets to it. Jungle healing is nice. It allows the Suicune to stay alive a little bit longer. Okay, but this is where we get a little bit more tricky. Mismagius is certainly not one of the Pokemon that I feel like we took onto the roster so it would see a lot of play. It really is here for these niche cases where Mismagius having something like Levitate is going to make our matchups versus these ground type attackers way easier. So no Sandsear Storms, no Earth Powers from the Landorus, but we also have Skill Swap, and this is actually a move I'm super excited about. I don't think it's something that we're going to click too often, but having Skill Swap here is so nice to, let's say, steal Sylveon's Pixelate, or be able to actually just take an ability away like Intimidate and use it against Keely's team. Maybe we decide to take Prankster away from Tornadus. There's a lot of different options that we could go for with Skill Swap, where Keely's Pokemon often rely on their abilities to succeed. And so removing that as an option makes us take less damage, and I think just allows us to execute the game plan better if we find ourselves in a situation where taking away the ability could get us the win. But yeah, the real star of the show here is going to be the Suicune with Calm Mind. We've got Ice Beam as well as Scald as the attack options on the Suicune this week, as well as Protect. And we have a Poison Terra just so we have even more resists. As long as the Landorus isn't on the field, I think the Terra Poison allows the Suicune to pretty hard wall almost anything on Keely's team. So all eyes on the Suicune this week. One Calm Mind boost, and I think we're cooking. Okay, so taking a look at what Keely actually brought, she ended up bringing the Tornadus and Landorus like we expected, Hisuian Arcanine, Sylveon, Baxcalibur, and the Quaquaval actually came over the Zarina, and honestly for me, that's pretty good news. The two biggest threats that I'm taking a look at here are always going to be the Landorus as well as that Baxcalibur. And so I think for this first game, I want to try to set myself up for something like maybe Suicune. I think Ogerpon is always going to be really good here. Quaquaval just feels like it's going to get walled pretty hard by the Water Terras on the team, as well as just knowing that Suicune is going to be Suicune. So we're going to start with Ogerpon as well as the Suicune, and then we're going to go ahead and bring Zarude and... Honestly, I feel like Klefki is going to be the right bring here. I think that having screens as an option is going to feel really good, so I'm going to try to stick to that and see if that's going to be able to get us the dub. But we'll see. We shall see. It's always so nerve-wracking going into the first game of a set because you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. Except I do know Terras. And that is one thing that can certainly help us out in this match. We're seeing Hisuian Arcanine hit the field as well as the Tornadus. Of course, I have my Suicune. It's not going to be lowered by the Intimidate that comes through there, but it's good to know that it's actually going to be Intimidate and not something like Rockhead, which... if you just set Sunny Day, you're going to be doing so much damage. So I'm actually super happy that this is what I see. I think in this situation, I think I can actually just go for an Ivy Cudgel into the Tornadus, and I think I can just go for a Calm Mind. I'm not really sure what this Arcanine is going to be doing to me. I mean, it's always very possible that it just goes for Terra, right? The Terra is normal, so it could also just go for like Terra normal extreme speeds. But we also don't really know what kind of item it has yet. But I do think it's still in my best interest to just hit the Tornadus. And yes, even though we get taunted, it's actually kind of nice that that happens because I get to go for the Ivy Cudgel here. I do think that this Tornadus is going to live. Doesn't look like it's actually a Sash. That's really not that bad. And yes, I know it looks bad that we didn't actually get the Calm Mind off there, but the trade-off is that the Tornadus actually didn't set something like Tailwind. And now I can just go for Ice Beam into the Tornadus, and I can just go Spiky Shield, and the Arcanine might hurt itself. There's a lot of options here, and the fact that this Arcanine can, like, it's still gonna take a ton of damage from Scald, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this. Plus, Taunt wears off. I can always wait for the perfect opportunity to actually get the Calm Mind up. And the Calm Mind isn't going to help me really into most of what I'm seeing here. The Calm Mind is very good, let's say, if Sylveon is in the back, or if Tornadus is going to be doing a Bleak Wind Storm into me. It does set Tailwind now, but this is perfect, right? I get the Spiky Shield. Hisuian Arcanine is going to hurt itself. And I just get to go for the Ice Beam. Taking out the Tornadus is really a great thing here. I think it would have been even better maybe if the Tornadus... No, I like it. I like that the Tornadus is gone. I don't get a chance to see what else it can do, but imagine if it has something like Sunny Day, and then it goes for Sunny Day and we see a Flare Blitz from the Arcanine. It just doesn't really feel very good. There is the Quaquaval, though. Now, that is interesting. This thing has a Stellar Terra, so I'm a little nervous about it having something like Terra Blast, because I think I have some trauma from last week. But at the end of the day, I think I'm still taunted, right? Yeah. Kind of don't hate the position that I'm in. Okay, Aqua Step is like actually going to be very annoying. But I like can't really see what else I would do except maybe... No, I think I need to let the Ogerpon go down. I'm also still going to be doing some good damage, I think. But yeah, it does look like it's going to be a Terrestrialization. It's the Arcanine. Makes sense. Maybe I should have doubled that slot. What in the world is this item? Yeah, Terra Normal Extreme Speed is about to go crazy! Okay, not really. Suicune's bulky. This Quaquaval has U-turn? Okay. That is very good to know. Quaquaval is Moxie with U-turn. It doesn't actually get to keep the boost though because it switches out. And in its place, we are going to see the Landorus. Okay, perfect. I mean, honestly, Scald here is not bad because we have a chance of a burn. It doesn't actually happen. But now that we see the Landorus, this is kind of the perfect Pokemon that we would have wanted to see here. I'm actually pretty safe to bring in the Klefki, set up something like a Light Screen. Like, Ogerpon got knocked out at the absolute right time. And I'm really happy about that. We're going to go for a Calm Mind now because I don't really feel like there's much that this Landorus can do to actually knock me out. And so, yeah, we'll go for the Light Screen just in case. I'm more worried about the damage output from the Landorus than I am at the Arcanine at this point. Because if we've seen Rock Slide, we've seen Flare Blitz, we've seen Extreme Speed. And like, yeah, okay, Klefki gets knocked out here. But the trade-off is, despite the fact that we're down 2 Pokemon, I get to bring in my Zarude, and... Okay, there's the reveal of the item. The Hisuian Arcanine has Citrus Berry. So... Does make me a little nervous, but look, we got a Calm Mind up. Now we're going to be doing some nice damage. And with the Zarude coming in... Ooh, it's a little nerve-wracking because... Actually, that is a little nerve-wracking. I don't have a good defensive Terra against this. And I also don't want to Terra the Suicune just yet. But I think, honestly, if I just go for Scald here... We have, how long do they have Tailwind for? Oh, only one more turn. I think actually it might be in my best interest to just double protect here to stall out Tailwind, and then we can think about the next turn. I also have Light Screen for a while. Yeah, let's stall at the Tailwind and go from there. I'm really excited to click Jungle Healing, but I'm not super excited to see that the Hisuian Arcanine is very fast. But I actually don't even think that going for the Protect here makes my Zarude faster at all. So, kind of a tough sell. But I think it would be really good here if I'm even bought one turn with my Terra. I think maybe, because I'm not terrastalizing Suicune at all in this game. Like, if I'm going to terrastalize anything, it's hoping that maybe with Sludge Bomb, this doesn't work. That would be nice. Yes, I know it's a little bit predictable, and she could absolutely read into this. But either way, Zarude is going to die. I also don't know if we actually have the outspeed. Oh, my Zarude is so fast. Oh, I didn't need that. Oh my god, that's so funny. Oh, I mean, Zarude goes bye-bye anyway. Like, it doesn't really matter, I think. It's fine. Everything is fine. I was never going to tear it anyway. Also, now the Arcanine is at, like, 2 HP. Yeah, that's not that bad. Ice Beam! Bye-bye. See? Now, I will say, I do have a slight problem. The Quaquaval is like... I can't hit it. And it can't really hit me. I don't think... I think it has a choice item, though. So I gotta protect to get some leftover recovery. The fact that it was so fast under Tailwind doesn't really surprise me, but it would be nice to see if I could fish for whatever it is. It would make sense if it just kind of goes for Aqua Step here. And yeah, I think that the Arcanine is going to continue to go for extreme speeds under this circumstance. Oh, it is close combat. Oh. Well, now isn't that interesting? I actually don't know if I would survive. Well... I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't remember Quaquaval's typing. I think it's stab? Yeah, close combat is stab. I think I have to allow myself to take one. Because, I mean, Arcanine is just going to be faster anyway, right? I guess I have to... There's only one way to find out. But I think I would rather deal with the Arcanine now because it's still... Jeez. Like, doing so much. Woo! Extreme Speed would finish me off here. My Suicune is, like, way too slow. And I do have a feeling that... Oh, man. Did you imagine that if I had actually saved my Terra? Oh, the Terra would have felt so good. I don't think... Like, it can't miss. I could play, like, a silly stall game, but I don't even think that... Yeah. Oh, that's too bad. I was like, oh, close combat can't miss. It's so strong. Also, the Suicune Arcanine did way more to me than I thought it would. That's a very strong team. I feel like I had a really good handle on being able to deal with the genies. And then maybe I just left, I think I left the Hisuian Arcanine on the field for way too long. Okay, game 2, everybody. Semi-fresh slate. We can still get back into this one. Taking note of what happened in game number 1, I left the Hisuian Arcanine in the field for way too long, and I just allowed it to do way too much. It's still not really that threatening to my Suicune, but if I leave it on the field for too long, the damage just starts to add up, and Keely got way better damage trades in that game 1 than what I did. So instead of just getting one screen up and doing nothing else, I think I'm going to lead Klefki in the front. That way I can go for a screen. I can get both screens up, actually. And then, honestly, even if I get taunted, I really don't think it matters. So I think I'm okay with that. I'm also going to end up, I think, bringing the Goodra this time and the Zarude. We're going to leave the Ogerpon at home. It feels a little risky because I feel like maybe the Baxcalibur actually comes to this match, and that would certainly be something that I would like to hit a little bit better with, like, Ogerpon. But I think I have to really focus on what Keely decided to lean into in that last game. And if it was going to be like Torn, Hisuian Arcanine, Landorus, and Quaquaval, then I should probably just try to prepare for that. I think if the Sylveon comes, it's... hopefully I can get through, you know. Okay, well, let's go. Game number 2. We're gonna see both of the genies. So, ooh, okay. So interesting. This is actually a lead that I maybe thought that she would go for at the very first game. And so in this situation, I would have loved to be able to just like kind of start threatening the damage onto the Torn, or sorry, the Lando. But I can't do that right now. I still think that being able to set like Light Screen at the moment and maybe even just go for a Protect would be very good for me. I don't want to hit the Terra on the poison just yet. I think I need to be able to save that, make sure that the Landorus is out of the way. It's not going to be threatening something like a super effective Earth Power or anything like that. And I honestly think I'm going to try to set up a screen and go for the Calm Mind, and I'll just see what happens. I am going to see a Terra, and it's going to be Terra Poison. I have a feeling that this Landorus is still Sheer Force because it has Sludge Bomb, as we saw. And so I think this is still going to be quite a bit of damage. Terra Poison, though, Rain Dance this time. And so that is going to be some pretty hefty damage coming our way. If it's Sandsear Storm, it's going to hit both targets for sure. And yes, it does. Light Screen, though, I actually do survive. And Suicune this time around gets a chance to get a Calm Mind immediately. I love being able to go for a risky play like that because it's quite unlikely that... to me, that I think Keely would have gone for Taunt twice. And even if that's the case, I can then just go for Scald, and now I've got the Rain in my favor, and honestly, life feels pretty good. I'm going to go for a Reflect now because I know there has to be some type of physical attacker waiting in the back. But now, like, I feel pretty happy about this. I think I can just start going for Scalds here. It's obviously, like, a little nerve-wracking that the Tornadus can just kind of keep going for stuff, but I still think that my priority here is to try to get the Landorus off the field. But there's going to be so much spread damage right now. Just the fact that you can go for Bleak Wind and Sandsear, and in the rain, both of them are going to hit. Like, it's just wild. And I'm getting so much damage done to me, which is, like, nuts. That's a lot. Woo, and we got the burn. That's pretty nice. So now Tornadus went for an attack here. We saw the speed interaction with everything else, and my Zarude is actually super, super fast. I think I'm gonna bring in the Zarude, and it honestly looks like fodder here. Because either way, what am I getting hit with Bleak Wind or something? But I get a chance to go for jungle healing, which would be super nice. And then I think I just go for Scald into the Tornadus this time around. Knocking out something would be great. But in this situation, I'm really hoping that Tornadus goes for Tailwind. And yeah, I mean, Landorus gets to go for moves, but it actually didn't go for Sludge Bomb onto the Zarude. So I'm in an even better position to just go for jungle healing here, which is going to do a nice little bit of HP recovery to my Zarude. And take a look at my Suicune now. We're now sitting way more comfortably. Tornadus is a little bit bulkier. We still have leftovers that we have to think about here. But, Lando is still alive. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well. I don't think the double up actually KOs. I'm not sure. Oh, I have no idea if this KOs. I don't think so. I'm going to hedge my bets. I'm going to say Tornadus doesn't KO me. Oh, it's gonna be the Quaquaval. I mean, Bleak Wind Storm is still stacking damage, which is the sad part about all of this. And Suicune gets a speed drop. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Suicune is one of the slowest Pokemon in this entire match. And it is really nice to have another set of healing here. Because I do actually get to knock out the Tornadus this time. And Quaquaval comes in. I am definitely less healthy this time around. But I feel like... Oh, it is Baxcalibur. Oh, would you look at that? Well, that's not good. I genuinely think I should just protect this turn because we do know that the Quaquaval has like close combat. It also has U-turn, so if it wanted to, it could just kind of U-turn out. And I would like to keep it stuck on the field. I do think just trying to go for a burn onto the Baxcalibur is my best shot. So I will protect the Zarude. I will try to stall out Tailwind. And yes, we get close combat, but look at how much better we take it this time. And that is thanks to the screens that we have set up. Now, oh, no way. Okay. Oh, I thought that Icicle Crash just went into the Suicune and we missed. And I was like, wow, lucky. We're really not doing that much damage. We kind of have to hope for a burn. Like, that was a crit. That is insane. Okay. That was a crit and it did that little. And now I'm a little nervous about how we're actually supposed to get through the... Oh, you know what? I have a Sui and Gudra in the back. That's good. They have how many turns of Tailwind left? Only one. And when it comes to Gudra, I feel like just being able to bring it in would be good because it's water. So I feel like I kind of do want to put it in a position where it can, yeah, use the Assault Vest versus the Landorus. So I think out of everything, I have to get rid of the Baxcalibur. Like, this thing's got to go. But I'm actually not sure that I can make it. I don't know. I'll leave my fate. I think just having Protects is good. I still think that the Baxcalibur outspeeds. Yeah. No flinch! No flinch! No flinch! No flinch! Oh! Any amount of damage there just would have been so good. At I mean, at least like the Tailwind is gone, I guess. And I can just go for like... I don't know. I mean, how many more I still have a couple turns left, but I gotta like do something. Oh, I don't know. I think maybe keeping this up is good, and maybe I just go for like Scalds onto the Quaquaval or something. Yeah, like I saw this coming. The fact that Excalibur has priority here definitely isn't great. I think Quaquaval can go for another close combat, and at least we're still taking those pretty well. Pretty good. Now Scald. Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna burn here, nice. Yeah, okay. Finally a little luck. Just a touch. I like a little luck. Especially after we got flinched by Icicle Crash. Darn. Little leftovers recovery. It is nice that the Landorus in the back is also quite low. We know that this Excalibur has the like Icicle Crash and Ice Shard and whatever else. I think it would be really good maybe if I Terrasilize here to water. Yeah, because like... I think I should just Flash Cannon. Yeah, let's do it. I also kind of want to see what else this Excalibur has. But I think going ahead and Terrasilizing gives me a good chance against the Quaquaval. Not being a Steel type is also very nice for the Landorus that's waiting in the back. So we'll commit the Terra here. Terra Wooter. And it's also a really nice Terra to have against the Excalibur. See, going for close combat, that does nothing. Hoodra is a beast. And Glaive Rush hurts. Ouch. Yeah. That's a lot of damage. It's really good for me to know that. But I think now that there's a third close combat, yeah, I think it's just Landorus in the back. That is at like 2 HP. I could double protect. Well, I can't double protect in front of it. I could, in theory, have double protected in front of it. It would knock itself out. So now thinking about game 3. I think I will go with the Ice Beam option because it's fun. Actually, you know what? No, I don't want to reveal anything else. We're going to go Flash Cannon because it's closed team sheet. I can do that. And technically, if I want to, I'll just protect because you can't KO both, even though that would be quite bad. So I'm just not going to give the opportunity for the crit there. This is how we lock the game for sure. Yeah, Goodra still takes a lot, but that's also after the light screen went away. So. Nice! All right, we get a win for game number 2, and now we get a chance to think about game number 3. Okay, so game number 3, we are going in, and I think it's about time we unleash the Miss Magius. Now, I feel like the Klefki with the screens was very beneficial in that game number 2. Suicune ended up staying around on the field for a lot longer, and even with a single Calm Mind boost, it felt like it was doing a lot of damage. Now, I don't even think that I need the Calm Mind boost necessarily, though, because I felt like with the rain up, I was doing so much with Scald, and it would be kind of nice to just start pumping out damage. If I see the same lead, I think that I could always, like, even just like switch in the Miss Magius. We could like protect. There's so many different options here. But the reason why I want to bring the Miss Magius to this game is because it has Levitate, it also has Skill Swap, and there's so many things that I think would be really funny to skill swap. So, yeah. I could skill swap away the Landorus's like Sheer Force, for example. I don't know, there's a lot. So, we're gonna try it, and we're gonna see what happens. Let's get it. Okay, so we've got Tornadus and we've got Arcanine in the lead this time, which makes me think that maybe Keely has gone back to the game 1 game plan. Because we've got the Hisuian Arcanine. This time around, what's really nice about this is I have the Klefki out in this board state, so I can actually just go for a screen this time around, and I think that's going to be way better. I love the option for me to go for Reflect so that the Hisuian Arcanine can't necessarily stack up the damage in the same way as it did in game number 1, and then I'm going to go for the Calm Mind, because you have to taunt one target. And it's kind of fine that it ends up being the Suicune, because I still get the Reflect up in front of this Hisuian Arcanine, and now, you know, how much damage can it actually do to me? I take the Flare Blitz, and it's absolutely because of that. Nice little maneuver there with the Reflect. And so now, honestly, like, I think I'm just going to go for the light screen just to see if I'm allowed to actually get it off. And so I think I'll just start going after some Tornadus. Tornadus time! If I force the Terra onto the Arcanine, it's also going to go away faster. So... now she taunts the Klefki, which makes sense. So now I can't actually use the light screen, but honestly, I think that's fine. And like, I don't know, it's like kind of fine that the Rock Slide did that. Ooh. All right, we got a critical hit. That's kind of cool. We like that. I'm gonna hit Scald though into the Arcanine though, because at this point too, I feel like the Tornadus can just go for the Tailwind, but we almost kind of want it to actually stick around for a little while, because if you think about it, if it doesn't have Tailwind, it doesn't, like, we're not giving a free slot over to something that's gonna switch in, and the Hisuian Arcanine already has Flare Blitz, or it has Extreme Speed, so the Tailwind doesn't really matter. Well, we're gonna actually KO the Arcanine anyway, so it's quite nice. But we actually do shake off the taunt, which is a good thing. So I'm gonna send in the Goodra, and would you look at that? It is Landorus on the other side. So I don't necessarily like that a whole lot, but I do think it's about time we get the Miss Magius. I do believe that I might want to go for some damage. Well, I'm trying to think here. I'm gonna try it. I could try to go for the Calm Mind and see what happens. Because again, worst case, we get taunted. And there is a Terra committed. It's gonna go onto the Landorus. But it's quite nice that we do have the option here now to just go for the Calm Mind. I get to have it? Okay, that's actually kind of nice. Levitate, though. You can't hit me with a Sandsear Storm. Suicune does take a butt ton of damage from that. Oh my god. We don't have screens this time. We don't have the light screen. But we do have a Calm Mind boost now, which is quite nice. But we have to protect it. So maybe we're going to not do that. Yeah. And I think, actually, I'm going to do a funny here. Ooh, now I think I am gonna do that and not protect. I'm gonna protect now, get a little bit of HP recovery back because of the leftovers, and I think I'm gonna just go for an Icy Wind here, because at a certain point, she either has to, like, hit the Miss Magius, or she has to actually set up another Tailwind here. I did take a lot of damage here. But dropping the speed would have been nice. That Tornadus has Covert Cloak. That is very good to know. That is very, very good to know. I'm now glad that I know that. I could do the funniest thing here to, like, skill swap. And, like, I shouldn't do that. I'm simply just going to do this. I think I just have to hope that I've done enough here. But we're going to get Sandsear and we're going to get Bleakwind both thrown our way. And either, I guess, the Landorus has to double or goes for the Earth Power. We live. That's quite nice. Oh, Torn barely lives. Oh my gosh. Another crit. Speed drops are still very nice. And the Scald actually finishes off the Lando. We knew that, though. We actually knew that. I should have just gone, like, Shadow Ball into the Torn. It's okay. We knew that Scald would actually do enough because that Landorus has, like, no bulk. That would have been nice. Okay. Can this Torn actually KO both of us? I don't know. I'm gonna let the Suicune, like, just take... I do think I have to hope that I actually... Oh, there we go. Oh, nice. Actually getting a speed drop onto the Baxcalibur is so good. Okay, so we dealt with the Torn. We dealt with the Lando. And the Arcanine is gone. It's Earthquake? Baxcalibur has Earthquake? Okay, this is actually feeling quite good right now. There is a possibility that Suicune does just get KO'd, but I think the fact that we got an Icy Wind drop on it is very, very good. And I think I'm just going to try to go for a Scald Burn here. Earthquake doing spread damage? There's actually no way for Keely right now to hit the Miss Magius with the Earthquake. So she would either have to, like, go for an Ice Shard in the Miss Magius to actually KO it, and that is what happens. But now that actually leaves me free to bring in the Suicune and actually maybe get a burn. Come on, maybe? I'm doing no damage. No. Okay, no burn, but I think, honestly, that is mostly okay. We don't have Reflect anymore, which is kind of poopy. I would have liked to have that. But I think at this point in time, this is definitely like the Terra moment. And I just go for Flash Cannon here. And I go for Scald again, Fish for the burn. Because my Suicune's not faster than the Baxcalibur. But if we could get the Flash Cannon off here, that would be huge. However, I'm realizing, I think... Does she still have Terra? I don't know. I don't remember. Anyway, didn't happen. Flash Cannon actually does a ton of damage here. Okay, it is Earthquake. Baxcalibur is obviously very, very strong, but it didn't actually knock out the Suicune, so we have one more turn with it unless she actually does a single target attack into it. We're gonna do another Flash Cannon. We're gonna do another Scald. I think that's it. I maybe should have just gone for Ice Beam there because Ice Beam is probably stronger, but I wanted the burn anyway, just in case. That's gonna do it. I can't believe we actually came back from the loss in game number 1. We get the win in our game 3, and that's gonna win us the week. But GG's, Keely, your team was so strong, and shaking, honestly. GG's. So excited that we got a win under our belt for the Shuckle Premier League. It was a couple weeks coming, but I feel like I've been able to notice the improvement in real time for the Draft League, and we also did something kind of unprecedented. I've never won a best of 3 set where I've lost the first game. And so to have to make the adjustment to win game number 2 and then make sure that I could execute a game plan to close out a series, that's a big moral victory for me. I think in my entire career of doing VGC, that has happened only maybe a handful of times. And so on a week where it really mattered for us to stay in a spot to potentially make the playoffs, I'm really glad that we were able to actually get a week win under our belt. Game number 1, Keely had the perfect read, being able to lean onto the Hisuian Arcanine, even investing the Terra into it. I left the Hisuian Arcanine in the field for way too long. So by the time we ended up getting to the final parts of the game, Arcanine had stacked up so much damage that there just wasn't enough healing or even enough muscle on my side to actually make it through all of that. Let alone, didn't have screens for long enough, and the fact that Suicune wasn't really fully set up either meant that game number 1, just not our game. Game number 2, I had to think about the adjustment there, which was remove the Hisuian Arcanine at all costs, and make sure that I'm thinking ahead to an endgame where that Quaquaval is present. That way I don't get surprised by it at the end of the day. I'd actually forgotten that Quaquaval was even a fighting type, despite the fact that we do prep for this. And the close combat ended up doing a ton of damage, alongside the fact that I do think it was choice banded, so it was also doing way more than I thought it would. But we played around the endgame much better, saving the terrestrialization for the Goodra so that we did have some nice resist when that Quaquaval eventually came out, and the Baxcalibur that was waiting as the final Pokemon for the game. I think if that Baxcalibur had been anything else, I think maybe we look at that game being just a little bit tighter, but I was glad to see the Baxcalibur there, and I was certainly hoping that it would make another appearance in the 3rd and final game of this set. And we did get that in the 3rd and final game, but our adjustment to the Mismagius worked perfectly. I was having trouble with the Landorus, and I think after seeing how much work the Landorus could have put in that 2nd game, it wasn't really a surprise to me that Keely went back to that strategy, ended up going for the Terra Poison on it anyway, and the Mismagius with the Levitate was able to avoid all of those very critical Sandsear storms. And even though the beginning of those games didn't always go the way that maybe we would have liked, it would have been amazing if the Klefki could have just avoided the taunt. Same thing with the Suicune in that game number 1. But we still set ourselves up for, even if that happened, that was an okay outcome. And Mismagius didn't get to use Skill Swap, but maybe that's a tech that we get to save for another match in another week of the Shuckle Premier League. But being able to close out the 3-game set here, I'm really hoping that we can continue this growth heading into the future weeks of the SPL. And that's why for week 4 of the SPL, I'm really hoping we can pull out all of these stops, because we are going to be playing against That's a +1, another creator that comes in from the VGC side who has participated in several Pokemon regional championships and also is one of the most creative team builders. So we're really gonna have to put our thinking caps on, and I can't wait to see you guys there for the next week of the SPL.